Welcome to the Empty Nester Life podcast. My name is Jackie Tate.
And I could not do that about a minute ago, so that's good. Yeah,
and your
great
name
job.
is?
I'm Mark.
Oh, there you go.
I could not do it. Couldn't do the intro.
I think today we're going to have some bloopers at the end. I think we should put those as bloopers at the end.
Let's do it.
I think it's fun. And so Mark, here we are at the Empty Nester Life podcast, where we dig into all things relevant to people in this phase of life. And really, we're empty nesters, but it's not specific to you as an empty nester. It's more specific to you if you're over 40 and in that kind of second half of life.
Or you're just a bird in a nest somewhere, and there's just nothing else there. We're not really sure what we're doing, but we're doing podcasts, and some of you are watching and listening, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I want to actually give a shout out to a few people who I know watch on the regular and their family. So I want to shout out my brother and his wife, John and Kathy. Hello, hello.
Hi, guys.
And Mark's sister, Kim, I know is a regular listener as well. So, and also shout out to Dennis, because he is a faithful listener too, and he's not technically family, but he's part of our YouTube family. So I think that was just something that was on my heart. I wanted to say we recognize you, we love you, and we're so glad that you're here with us.
I second that motion. Judge, what do you have for today?
Favor?
Aye. What do you have for today?
Today I have a follow-up to our last podcast about coping with regret. Today, we're going to be talking about mending fences, healing relationships, and figuring out if it's time to reconnect with people you've lost touch with.
And that's why I wore this shirt. This shirt is probably 15, 20 years old. I kid you not. And I just wanted to reconnect with you, buddy. How you been? So I brought my old shirt, and I feel like it was nostalgic. I'll wear this old shirt, and I like this shirt, but it's old, and it's been a while since I wore it.
Yeah, I've known you for 18 years, and you had that shirt when we met. I can attest to that.
I rest my case.
So that's nice. I'm glad.
Good to have you, buddy. Good to have you. I'm not sure if there's any moth holes or whatever. I'm not really sure about any of that. I didn't take a very good look at it, but it goes back a ways. So, mending fences after some time, after a lot of tension. Maybe it's not even any tension, just stuff sort of happened. She's having a good time with my shirt thing.
Oh, sorry, you're going to have to cut that, I think, because...
Not my shirt thing.
No, just the fact that I can't stop laughing. This is part of what I love about you.
I kind of like it. I kind of like the laughing bit.
This is what I like about my husband, and one of the reasons why I just love being married to him is because I had no idea he was going to do that. And sometimes he does stuff like that, and it just catches me out of left field, and it brings joy. Now, sometimes he doesn't have the right timing.
I don't hit.
Or you're like using bad timing where I'm in like a serious moment or whatever. But I would say for 95% of the time when you throw stuff like that out there, so I'm sorry if the rest of you didn't find that as funny as I did, but that's why I'm married to him.
My shirt.
Jeez. All right. I'm sorry. Let's keep talking about what you're like. Yes, let's get serious, because this is a serious topic for sure. So thanks for kicking us off with a little humor.
Yeah,
there.
so, we're talking about mending fences that are maybe strained by time, maybe strained by distance, or just kind of tension. You had a falling out, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think the main point that we want to get to today is that it's not too late to pick up the phone, to send an email, or just open the door in whatever way. And we're going to dig into how do you do that? What does that look like? How do you overcome fears involved with that? And so that's what we're really digging into today. And
there's a few fences out there that I don't want to mend. So, you may not want to mend some of them, but I'll bet you there's at least one that you need or want to mend.
That's actually a really good point. And I think let's start there by saying what we're not saying. Today's podcast is not saying that you need to mend every fence. There are fences that shouldn't be mended. Frankly, there are people from your past, whether, and it could be family, it could be friends, it could be whatever. Whoever, an ex-coworker.
People. Could be people.
It could be people. Always mend fences with animals. I agree with that. But it could be... Actually, that's not even true. But I digress.
Okay.
Point is, not everybody needs to have that fence mend. Those are people that maybe what they did is unforgivable, and we can talk about forgiveness in another podcast. But these are people who don't belong in your life because they continue to bring trauma or negativity or things like that. So, our advice is not all encompassing, is my point. Yeah,
and these would be these people in your life where your consciousness has sort of been nagging you. It's kind of a nag. Man, I haven't talked to them forever. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder how they've been. I wonder how the family is. Because I kind of see it that way. It's kind of this nagging that's been going on. And I think the nagging is maybe a little stressful. I do.
Yeah. And so you're saying that the people we're going to be talking about today, that's what we're hitting, those people that maybe you've been feeling like you want to reach out or reconnect or what have you. I think that's good. So I do want to just start by saying, as we go through this, you are the judge of you. You have to know if it's the right time to reach out to a certain person or whoever you're thinking of. Some relationships, not worth it. Most relationships, though, I would submit are.
Yeah, so let's talk about maybe something that you want to, some person that you want to reconnect with. I mean, do you have one of those people?
Well, I want to start with this story because, as we're going into this and Mark and I were fleshing this out, the natural thought process is to think of somebody you had a big falling out with or there was some big event. But, it's not always like that. So I have a personal story of reconnecting with my aunt and uncle, my Aunt Joanne, my Uncle Joe. And it was literally nothing happened, no dramatic fallout, nothing like that. It was just time and distance. We all used to live in the Chicago area. They moved to Florida. My parents, when I was a teenager, moved to Arizona. And then we just lost touch. And growing up, they were my favorites. I loved hanging out with them. We went to church with them every Sunday. We went to Willow Creek.
I mean, that's great.
And then after Willow Creek, we would always go to Wag's Diner. And I can still remember I would get the chicken sandwich at Thousand Island dressing, and their French fries were really good. I mean, this is a core memory for me. And yet, through the course of life, the last time I had seen my aunt and uncle, Madison was an infant. And then before you know it, 20 years had passed. And so Mark and I, a few years ago, were talking about this, and I was saying, I can't believe it's been that long since I've seen my aunt and uncle. And it wasn't even just that we hadn't seen each other. We would maybe send birthday cards to one another, but that was about it. So we planned a trip. I reached out to my aunt and started with a text. And then she was excited to hear from me, and I was saying, hey, we're thinking about coming down. And so we got on the phone, had a conversation about timing and, what that would look like. And we booked the trip. We made it a family trip. We brought the girls, and we had a great time. And it felt like no time had passed. It was the first time Mark met them, and he got along with them really well. So I wanted to share that story because it had a good outcome, and it wasn't anything dramatic. It was just simply time and distance.
Yeah, so you kind of regretted the fact that you let all that time slip away.
Well, I did regret the fact that I let the time slip away.
Yeah. And
I was nervous to reach out to her because so much time had gone by. I had it in my head like, well, what if there was ill will that I didn't know about? What did I do something that offended? You start going through all of those little things in your head.
Because they didn't reach out to you first. Right. Why don't you guys come and see? I get that. So there's this whole fear thing, and that's the thing that I kind of circled on the outline is fear. I had an instance, and I don't really have anybody out there that I feel like, there's this big antagonism between us or anything, and anger or anything like that. But I did have a couple of high school buddies from Salina, Kansas that I reached out to, and first to Mike and then to Steve. And they were really good friends of mine. I really like those guys. Great guys. Some highlights of my life in terms of just nice people, good people, just solid people. And I reconnected with both of them. One I've seen, and the other one I haven't seen, but I am going to see Mike. I've seen Steve, and so there was a little fear there. And actually, the funny thing is that Mike's wife several years ago reached out to me, and she said, "Are you the Mark Tate from Salina, Kansas?" And I could see her last name, and I said, "Yeah, that's me." Well, my husband, Mike, yeah, Mike, man. I mean, him and I were like inseparable for almost 2 years, year and a half. Amazing, great guy. And then Steve, really awesome dude, and also one of my close friends. Hung out with him all the time. And so that was a little bit of fear there, kind of reaching out to Steve, whatever. I'd kind of talked to Mike about, say, hey, I wonder if I could reach out to Blackwell, And so that was kind of cool. And that was just it really felt good. And I literally got a message from Steve today or yesterday. He got a text message from him, and then I texted him back today. Yeah. So, that's kind of this ongoing thing. I definitely want to see that guy again, and haven't seen Mike yet. And it's been a long, long time. But those are, I kind of regret, I let that sort of slip away a little bit to a certain extent. But if you watched last week, that means I care about them. I care.
That means you care.
There's meaning.
That's true.
There's meaning in those relationships for me. If you watched last week, you'll know that's true. Don't worry about regret because you care. Maybe even love, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and just the other night, too, you were talking to someone who lost touch with her son.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well, honestly, it was last night. I was talking to a gal, and she said, what's really fantastic is that I have reconnected with my son, and I had not talked to him for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could feel that pain, coming about a mile away.
And what did she share?
And she said, and this was sad too. Now they reconnected, but she said, I was the one who walked away. Like she had walked away from the family. And she said, I just was a different person back in those days. I was a different person. And maybe that's where you find yourself too. Maybe you walked away. Maybe you were a different person. In fact, I will guarantee you, if it's been at least 10 years, even 5 years potentially, maybe even a month, you could be a different person. Yeah,
that's why I wanted to make sure you brought that up, because I think it is important. A lot of times we look at our relationships, especially those broken relationships, and we're very quick to identify the ones where somebody else hurt us. But what about the ones where we hurt someone else? What about the ones when we're to blame for this brokenness?
Somebody's wounded, they're wounded, and wounds aren't necessarily fatal. So once you heal from that wound, you can go back because it wasn't fatal, and time tends to heal things. Things are forgotten. It's not as deep a wound, that sort of thing. So I think keep that in mind too. Say, listen, a lot of time has passed. I was the dope. I was the ding dong. I'm sorry, Shirt. I'm sorry. But you know what I'm saying? I was the one that neglected the relationship. But there's hope. There's always hope that it can come back around and you can reestablish and have a relationship moving forward. And maybe it's not like it was before, but it's maybe something.
Right. Yeah. And that, I think, well, that's a good point. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, about what does it look like after you reconnect. But first, let's talk about why we drift apart. I mean, we've kind of touched on these a little bit, but let's dig into that. I mean, time in life stages, obviously, that's, when you shared your story about your high school buddies, you'd graduated high school. Y'all kind of went your separate ways, and you were in college in different states, and let's face it, this was also before everybody had social media and cell phones and things like that. So it really took actual extended effort back in those days to stay connected. So that was nothing nefarious. It was just life.
No. Yeah, it was just life. And you move on and you get busy and you make new friends because these people are a long ways away. And so that is part of this life experience. We all have this, envelopes of our life, and sometimes in those envelopes, you take certain things out and you put other things in.
I like that. Yeah, that's true. And sometimes it is a little nefarious. So let's flesh that out a little bit.
Go ahead. I want to see where you're coming from on this.
Well, the first thing, something happened, and you can point to a catalyst that caused a relationship to break. Maybe it was an all-out fight. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe, and I think this is the important one to really flesh out, it was unmet expectations. And I think...
That's a biggie.
I think we need to talk a little bit about that, because sometimes if you really look at the cause of the conflict or the brokenness, it is because you had an expectation on someone that either was unrealistic or unfair. That could be. Or it could be very realistic and fair, but that person just didn't.
They weren't up for it.
They weren't up for it. They couldn't reach the bar that was low enough that should have been reached. Basic in your mind.
In your mind.
Well, and maybe in anybody who's reasonable mind. Like if we were going to take your case to trial and put it in front of a jury of your peers, and you made your case to say this was my expectation and it was unmet. And I think it was a very reasonable expectation. And then it goes to the jury, and the jury goes back to deliberate. Maybe they would come back and say, yeah, you were right. It was a reasonable expectation. But does that change the fact that the expectation was not met?
Yeah, but I can see that, like, you try and imprint your expectation on me, and I'm not down for it. I'm not down for that expectation. That's not who I am. Maybe that's who you think I am, but that's not who I am. And now I'm getting mad because I am not living up to your expectations. So I feel like a little bit of a failure here now, too. So I'm failing because I'm not meeting your imprint on me. But it's not fair that you say, oh, you should be this way, or we should interact this way. Our friendship should be this way. We should love each other this way.
Well, that's really good. That's a good point. So you're coming at it.
Now.
You're coming at it from the other, but you're coming at it from the other perspective, where you're saying maybe I felt the weight of that expectation,
100%.
And because I couldn't live up to it, I pushed you away.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's really good.
I could see that definitely being a conflict, where people are butting heads because I'm not living up to what you think, but you're setting expectations on me, and I am actually going in a different direction. I came to that fork in the road and I went this way, and you're saying, no, you should have kept going straight. Yeah, but I took the fork in the road. Stop now. And then explosion, this big explosion, and the relationship is wounded. On both sides, there's a wound. On both sides,
there's a wound.
There's a wound.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that just disappointed me. I'm so disappointed in you. So you ever heard that one? We all have.
Well, yes.
We've all heard that one. You're very disappointing. Okay, I feel good about this now.
Well, so what can hold us back from trying to mend those bridges, whether it's been,
one word. Pride.
Well, I would submit a second word.
Okay.
Fear.
Yeah, fear. 100%.
Pride and fear.
Oh, yeah.
I think those are the two sides of the coin that are going to keep you from trying to reconnect with somebody who you do feel you want to mend that fence with. And, obviously pride, but I was right. But I'm right. You were wrong. I'm right. You should be the one to come to me first.
Now, though, you're saying to yourself, I want to reconnect. I want to re-interact with these people. I'm not sure that's a word. So your pride is probably pushed down pretty good because you realize sort of now, maybe a little bit, probably fully, that it was a little foolish.
Well, if you're going to be honest with yourself, I think you will see that.
Yeah, the foolishness in all this conflict.
I think pride keeps us from being honest with ourselves in that, though. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just trying to picture if I'm on the other side of this podcast and I'm listening to us talk about this, I can think of a couple relationships that I would be thinking, oh, that would be nice to mend that fence. But
here it is.
They should be the one to reach out to me. I shouldn't be the person to start because that person owes me blah blah blah. Okay,
it wasn't me.
Right, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I was right.
I can identify with that.
Exactly. So I think that, but if we're truly honest with ourselves, does it really matter? I mean, if this person is important enough to you that they're laid on your heart, even just hearing this conversation, does it matter where it started?
And I just want to say this, 30 days sometimes is enough time to sort of, you press down your pride and realize your loss. It doesn't have to be 10 years or 5 years or whatever.
True.
We've all had like these interactions like, I'm done with you. And then a couple of weeks later, I guess I'm not done with you. How am I going to fix this? You know? So it's. I don't know that it's a time thing, but I think time does heal the wounds more extensively. But I think it adds a lot more fear to it because now all this time has gone by. So it feels like the fear sort of builds. And then, but I think maybe what happens is your love comes through and you say, my love has to conquer this fear. My caring has to conquer this. You know what I mean? I
agree.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I think let's just talk about the fact that this is part of the human condition. And this is why I don't know if it's turning into a series. I hate to kind of use that term because then now we have an expectation on ourselves.
And that's hard.
Yeah. But I do think that's why we're doing this episode now is because it piggybacked off of the episode we did on regret in that these are things that are less than ideal, but are truly part of the human condition.
The other thing the part of the human condition, but the other scenario here, I was just sitting there thinking, so we're talking about, where you're trying to reconnect, but let's say you just have an extremely strained relationship and you'd like to mend you're still kind of back and forth. It's not completely cut off, but it's strained. But it's strained. You're still going to have to maybe apologize. You may not get an apology from the other side. Maybe an apology isn't even warranted. I'm thinking maybe that's a scenario too.
Well, that hits close to home for me personally.
Yeah. Well, you want to go there or no?
Well, no, I'm not going there.
Okay.
I'm not going there at all.
But it's strained.
Because sometimes, here's what I will say too. Sometimes out of respect... Well, let me just say this. I have no problem sharing my own stories, and you have no problem sharing your own stories. But we do try to be sensitive of those around us, and sometimes it's not our story to tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I would say there is somebody right now that is close to me who I feel let down by. Mm-hmm. And others feel let down by.
Okay.
And so yeah, I think I didn't even think about that when we decided to do this episode.
And that's what happens.
Now all of a sudden I'm like, oh.
Well, these feely episodes, I kind of said that last week when we were going through the outline and tweaking the outline and stuff like that. And I said, I'm not sure about this outline that I want to go there. And Jackie didn't even have this impression upon her until, 2 minutes ago.
2 seconds ago.
But I know where she was going. And it does. It kind of hits you. It kind of hits you in your heart and your mind. And then you go,
Oof. Okay. Physician, heal thyself. And now I'm like, how can I talk about this?
She's ready to go cut, edit, come back in. That's what she was almost happening here.
No, this is real life, and we're going to roll with it.
Okay. So let's pivot to this. The power of the first move. The power of the first movement, meaning you're the mover. Okay, they're not the mover. You're the first mover here. It talks about, or it actually says, that you've had growth, you've had maturity, and that you have a heart. If you're the first mover in this reconnection.
Yeah, and I think,
that's cool.
That's very cool. It does show something about you. I think that's, as we go through the rest of our episode here, the most important thing is realizing that you can only control yourself. This is what I teach the girls all the time. You cannot control how anyone else behaves. You can only control your own behavior. So things are going to happen outside of you that now it becomes yours. You didn't make the choice, you didn't cause the drama, you didn't cause the conflict, but now it's up to you to say, well, how am I going to respond to this? And so, yeah, I think, first acknowledge that this is hard. And maybe you got to get past that feeling of, it shouldn't be me, but you are the one having this laid upon your heart. So it is time to show your maturity and growth.
Yeah, and some of this growth is forgiveness. As a Christian, you would know that we forgive because we've been forgiven. And so this forgiveness component of this is like you remember them no more. Okay, I've forgiven. I'm not bringing it up again because I don't even remember it. That's what God says. God says, I cast them as far as the east is to the west in terms of your sins, the things that you've offended me with. And God gets very offended when we sin against him because he's done all this for us. And so we're supposed to act the same way. We're supposed to be in this mode of saying, I'm not going to remember him anymore. You don't have to say that to him, but you have to go into it with this growth and this maturity that I'm not going to remember them anymore. We may have to talk it out. I get it, but then I'm done. Then I'm done with it. I think this is my opinion. You may have your own opinion.
I would beg to differ. Yes, okay. I would. Now, and not in all circumstances, but I would say that advice is good advice in certain circumstances, but remembering we are human, we are not God. And so sometimes we can forgive, but we shouldn't forget, because if we just say, well, I'm going to remember it no more, then you're leaving yourself open to repeating a pattern that is toxic, destructive, abusive. So that's certainly not what you are saying.
No, and I knew she was going to go there, and that you have to go there.
Yeah,
you have to go there for sure, 100%.
Right.
And that's wisdom, right? That's some wisdom going on there, because do we learn from the past? Yeah. Do we learn from the future? No, we haven't been there yet, but we do learn from the past. And so she's talking about learn from your vast experience. Yeah, and that'll tell you how to tackle this.
Right, because if you just forget about it, then you are opening yourself up to repeat it, and that's not at all what we're trying to say.
And I'm mainly talking about petty stuff, because let's face it, most of this stuff, a lot of times, not always, but sometimes it's petty.
That's fair.
Maybe that's 25% of it's petty, and maybe 75% of it is real junk that you got to work through. I don't know what the number is, but I see your point, and I know you saw mine. So that's great. I mean, I love it. I love it. I think it's great. It's good point.
It is good.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, one thing I want to encourage you is that as you're listening to this episode and you're saying to yourself, yes, I guarantee you, if you're still with us right now, you're thinking of someone in your life that you feel that you would like to reach out to. And I want to offer you some encouragement right now. And again, remember, it's not about how they respond. It's about you taking that action. It may go really great. Like, it may be everything you hope it will be, but it may not. It may not be received well. You may reach out and not get anything in return.
Yeah.
You may reach out in love and that person doesn't reciprocate the love. There could be a lot of things, but I want to say this. Even if it doesn't go perfect, you've planted a seed. And sometimes a seed needs to get planted, and then before it can come to fruition as a full plant, it needs to have some time and some conditions that are ideal to help the seed turn into a plant. So
and don't rush the growth. You may plant a seed and it may be a week or two or a month or 2 months before you hear something back. And then maybe you kind of plant another seed. I don't really know. Great one. Send them an invitation. I mean, if you were to send an invitation to me, say, let's go have coffee and a donut, because I don't eat donuts.
You don't eat donuts.
But I would. If it was the right situation, I would. And that would probably coax me out of my little burrow that I'm in.
Well, you know what that would be? That would give you an excuse, because you're very good about not eating donuts and sugar. But you'd be like, I got to go eat the donut.
You got to get me a glazed, a little chocolate donut with a little frosting on top. Okay.
Somebody last night said, how did she put that?
I don't know.
You're the donut. God gives you the donut, and you got to follow the sprinkles or something. I don't know. Like I'm totally not getting it right. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, I'm
getting distracted by donuts. All I can think about now are donuts.
Dang,
Thank you.
They're good too.
So let's talk about just small gestures. They matter. So it doesn't have to be a grand gesture of saying an invitation to go to coffee, although I like that one a lot. But it could be small. It could just be a text. It could be maybe just sending them a greeting card, or if it's near their birthday, or just a, hey, I've been thinking about you card.
Yeah, if you got a lot of money, you cut them a check for $500 and you bribe them into that meeting.
Don't recommend that.
Don't do it.
I don't.
They'll probably come, take the check, and skedaddle.
Yeah, and you haven't fixed a thing.
Yes.
So, but maybe if it's appropriate, it's an apology. Maybe it is a phone call just saying, hey, I want you to know I've been thinking about you. I owe you an apology. I had a situation with a friend that she reached out to me, and our relationship was broken because of something she did. She reached out to me, and eventually, it's really interesting because, and this is a good example, time went by, a lot of time went by, and then she reached out to me with just little text messages and efforts to reconnect.
That's nice.
And then eventually an invitation.
You were wary this whole time.
I was wary. I was grateful but I was happy at first to just kind of keep it phone calls and text messages. Actually, just text messages at first. And then as time went by, I was feeling, okay, there's sincerity behind this. It wasn't just like a whim and now it's going to go back to, a negative experience or something. So in her persistence in texting me, I felt the sincerity of her heart. Cool. Then it turned into a phone call. Then it turned into an invitation. And I said, okay, why not? And so I got together with that friend. And what was really powerful is that when we reconnected, she did offer an apology. And then she wanted to kind of talk out what had happened. And I said, it doesn't matter. None of it matters anymore. You're different.
Oh, that's right.
I'm different. I accept your apology and let's just move forward. And I'm so grateful for that reconnection. I mean, she's somebody who meant a lot to me in the past and now means a lot to me again. And so, yeah, we went through a little bump in the road there. But because she reached out and she was persistent, and again, it was just little steps. So the little steps added up to a bigger step. She planted a seed and it grew to fruition.
Yeah, and I want to just reiterate, you're different, but they're different too. And I know you probably realize this, like that was almost like this kind of subliminal thing. Well, I'm different. Well, they're different too. They may be tougher. They may be tougher. Life maybe's, really toughened them up and may be tougher, but usually people kind of mellow and mature, and they gain wisdom, and they understand that a lot of conflict is from small things. petty things.
Yeah.
And again, this can, maybe it's not the case. It could be very something like you walked out on your family, and and then 10 years later you're trying to reconnect with your son. Woo, that's going to be a doozy. But she accomplished it.
Yeah, and the son was forgiving. And I think that's the point too, is to remember, I think a lot of times when we have a broken relationship, our version of the person who hurt us or that we hurt is stuck in time. Mm-hmm. Our version of that person is stuck where
Love that
relationship ended.
Yep.
So we do have to consciously think about the fact that they are different people now. Mm-hmm. If we're talking about an issue of time, time has grown you to where you are, but time might have grown that person as well. And I think to go into it with the benefit of the doubt on that is a wise way to handle it.
Yeah, and so what happened in your scenario with your friend is you kind of had some boundaries. You went slow, mm-hmm. because you're especially going to go slow because you're still trying to decide whether or not you're going to let this person in. It still hurt. It still hurt there a little bit, but not as much. Obviously, you were forgiving and said, you know what, let's not go there because we've now rebuilt something.
Right.
And once you rebuild something and you put new paint on it,
yeah, why chip
you're not going to strip it back off.
Yeah, why strip off the paint and get back to the ugliness? Nope. I like this I like the new glossy paint. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. I want to also tell you that there is a video of the weekend that I reconnected with this person, and I'm going to link to that below. And that might get cut out because if I don't have her permission to say that, I'm not going to do it. But
I know who this is now.
Yeah, you do.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, and just keep the door open without any pressure.
Yes.
I would see be the big thing is, we're just people, man. We're all trying to figure this whole thing out, and our motivations have changed. Maybe we were motivated in a different way, and now we're motivated in a different way. And so that's not super profound, but we're just motivated different, and we have different insight into life and even conflict and happiness. And maybe we're more motivated by just being kind to people rather than being right.
I agree with that. Let's all be more motivated by being kind to people than being right. Yeah. And I think that's pride, right?
It is.
Saying, I'm right, you're wrong.
It's kind of a me syndrome, right? Me.
Yeah.
But what about me?
What about me? What about me?
It's kind of that whole victim idea, mm-hmm. I think we all can get into the victim syndrome, especially if we've been wronged.
Right.
Yeah, but that's not fair to me. You're right.
Life's not fair.
It wasn't fair to you.
Yeah, it's not fair. But now what? And if you're going to be honest with yourself too, you can really see where some of those broken moments have helped you grow. I know 100%. For me, some of the moments where I have been broken by someone else's neglect or cruelty or what have you has taught me to self-reflect, to not do that myself. If this hurts when this person did that to me, I need to make sure I'm not doing that to others.
Yeah, I mean, this whole life process is a refining process. We're in this furnace, mm-hmm. Okay?
Furnace of affliction.
Yeah, we're in this furnace of affliction, and we're this clump of silver ore. And in time, that furnace will burn away all of that extra ore, and what you'll have is a nice big lump of silver, or maybe in your case, a lump of gold. You
big lump of gold, you.
You lump, you.
So if somebody calls you a lump, you tell them thank you.
Yes, and I'm in a refining process, and I'm going to be pure gold here soon.
That's pure gold, Jerry. Gold.
That's gold, Jerry. Gold.
Another Seinfeld reference. Okay. So let's talk about some practical ways to reconnect.
All right.
I think especially where family is concerned, but also could be a lifelong friend, a high school buddy, what have you.
Sure.
I think a great way to start is to start with a memory or a shared experience or
remember
a tradition.
When.
Yeah, remember when.
Mm-hmm. You fell off the pony and then I jumped on and galloped away and left you in the field by yourself.
Well,
oh, that was so fond.
That's probably not the memory. That's probably not the
Father,
memory.
tell me what it was like.
It's not really where I was going.
When I had a pony. Go ahead.
Well, and even as I'm saying that, I'm like, well, let's back that truck up even just a touch, because I think a really powerful way to start is just, you've been on my mind. How are you?
Wow, that's nice too.
I've been thinking about you.
Oh, that's nice too. That's a nice thing to say.
Right? And that can be a really good icebreaker, and that could be a phone call saying that. It could be a text message saying that. And listen, if this broken relationship has gone on a while, if you reach out by phone, they may not answer. So you may get a voicemail. And if you get that voicemail saying, "Hey, Bob," or, I mean, don't say Bob if that's not their name, but, "Hey, Bob, I've been thinking about you. You've been on my mind lately, and I just wanted to reach out and see, how are you? Give me a call when you get a minute. Leave your number. Bye."
And in that case, if you really want to show more respect, you'd say Robert.
Or Mr. Bob, Mr. Robert.
Mr. Robert.
Kindly, okay, I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole now, but I do think even before getting to that shared memory or what have you, that's a really good icebreaker. So now let's say they receive and they reciprocate. They text you back, they do answer the phone, or they do call you. Then it is, hey, I've been thinking about you. Maybe you start with a shared memory. That's a good memory. Mm-hmm. I will say maybe be careful with that one. Because what might be a good memory to you could have been a really painful memory to the other person.
You got to make sure and get your memories right.
Well, and
remember it correctly.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, again, because we all come at things from a different perspective. Mm-hmm. The only examples I can think of right now aren't really appropriate to share, because, again, not just my story. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to go down the memory route, go down one that was like a really good memory. The other thing you could do is offer help or support with no expectation in return. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that people are always looking for someone who cares about them. I love that idea of, "Hi, how you doing? I've been thinking about you." That shows affection. Mm-hmm. That's a support thing. That's an affection thing, and that's not about me. I thought I would call you because I was thinking about me and you. No, I was thinking about you.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice icebreaker,
and it's a nice way to open the door. Mm-hmm. And again, with no expectation. Mm-hmm. I think that's I know maybe I sound like a broken record, and when I listen back to this, I'm gonna go, "Okay, Jackie, shut up about the expectation." But it's just so important to not have expectations on that other person as to how they're going to behave. Remember, this is about you taking that action, trying to heal a relationship if it can be healed, but accepting that maybe it can't. Yeah. But at least you're not going to have the regret of wondering what if. See what I did there? Yeah,
and now it's back. Your conscience is not continuing to nag you because you've tried. And I tried. It didn't work. And now, truly, move on.
Right.
Truly.
Or like what happened with my friend and I, it started with those little steps, and she was consistent and persistent, and not in an expectation type of way. Like, hey, have you forgiven me? Hey, we should talk. Hey, it was just, hey, how are you? It was, that kind of thing. And those little persistent steps over a period of time showed me that she really was caring about the relationship, not just having a moment of, "Oh, I should probably reach out." You know what I'm saying? So you got to use your best judgment where that's concerned.
Yeah, these are real adults trying to work stuff out, people that actually are no longer children. You've met them. You've met the 50-year-old that's still 14. So if this person's still 14, you see them on Facebook and they're still posting 14-year-old stuff, it's going to be hard. But if this is a mature person, perhaps they're raising a family, and not that there aren't 14-year-olds that are 50, that are 40-year-olds that are raising families when they're actually 14. It happens. But there should be a maturity. Most people are going to mature. Most people are going to have some wisdom and life experience that tells them, yeah, it's time, because this is it. You got one life on this planet. Okay. You have one life on this planet, and then that's it. And no day is promised. So maybe go ahead and move forward.
Yes. And I will share that you are right about that. That if you're feeling prompted to reach out to someone or to heal a relationship, do it. Do it now, because no day is promised. I will share a story about my high school, one of my childhood, actually, best friends. Her name is Casey. And Casey and I mean, we were best friends. We knew each other. We went to different schools, but we knew each other through ballet. And we just understood each other. We were so much alike in some ways, and yet so very different in others. And in all the right ways, we were different because we helped each other grow. And she and I we had a beautiful relationship. And as we became adults, so at first I moved to Arizona when I was 15, but she and I continued to stay in touch. And I would fly back and stay with her. She came out to Arizona, stayed with me. So we still kept in touch even after I moved.
Good stuff.
Then when she went off to college and I became an adult, we did lose touch a little bit, but she was one of my bridesmaids when I got married and all of the things. But we had a relationship where we would literally go for a year or two and not talk or connect at all. And then we would pick up the phone and it was like no time had passed.
Yeah, I get that.
At all. And then we were in one of those cycles where we just hadn't touched base. And then I found out she died in a car accident. And it was one of those things where I had felt prompted to reach out to her, and it was just like, oh, I'm going to call her tomorrow.
Probably several times, right?
I'm going to call her tomorrow. And then tomorrow came and it was super busy, so I'll call her tomorrow. And then before you know it, a month had passed, I mean, don't wait is my point in sharing that. Don't wait to reach out if you feel the need to heal a relationship, because you may not have tomorrow.
It's profound. It really is profound. Life marches on, and then life doesn't march on.
So let's talk about ways to reconnect. We mentioned the one woman who reconnected with her son. So let's talk about ways to reconnect with adult children. Okay.
With adult children specifically, well, something sabotaged that thing. Somebody sabotaged it, because you no longer have a relationship. So that is probably going to have to be addressed, especially with children. As long as it wasn't a crime or something along those lines, and I'm not going to go any deeper with that, as long as it wasn't a crime, then I think you have to acknowledge it, ask for forgiveness, and either side, right? I think, again, we have to be a little bit mature here. And there should be a bond. There's just bonds with kids. There's bonds with other people. There should be a bond there, and rely on that bond, I think, is what that's what's kind of touching me right now. I think you have to, regain that trust, because obviously trust was broken. Was really smashed up pretty bad.
And I do think that whether or not, again, whose fault was it? Does it matter? Whether or not it was your fault as the parent, I do think there's something about you being the parent trying to reach out that could be healing. But here's the key. Yeah. You have to respect their boundaries and the fact that they are their own adult now. I really think a lot of times when the relationship between an adult child and a parent is broken, it's because the weight of the expectation that the parent held over them when they were children was too heavy. You thought, and again, I'm just spitballing from real life situations that I know of, not saying this is anything in our particular worlds, but where the parent had an expectation on that kid that kid was going to grow up and, go to college, be a doctor, a lawyer, something really successful. And the fact that the kid decided not to go that route and maybe, got a job doing whatever, decided to live the van life or what have you. And then the parent said, well, that's a bad reflection on me. So the kid just outright rejected the parent, because instead of saying, oh, I'm going to come be around somebody who feels like I'm a failure, I just don't want anything to do with you. So if that's the case, maybe it is a matter of like, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize your life path had nothing to do with me, kind of thing. That's just an example.
You're this kid has learned how to be an adult. They have their own place. Perhaps they have a car, which means they probably have a job, which means they probably have a life. Mm-hmm. And that life has been rolling along without you. Mm-hmm. And they have put together a life, despite this difficulty. They have put together a life and don't think that they need you, because they've been, doing this life without you. They don't necessarily need you. They may want you.
Right.
And they may need you, but they don't, they don't have to have you.
Right.
And I think that is one of those feeling moments. It doesn't feel great when you say that. Not that we have this going on with us or any of our kids, whatever, but they figured it out. Maybe they figured it out a little bit.
Well, I think the important thing you just said is they don't need you. Maybe they do need you. They do need you, just not, they don't need you to parent them anymore. And I think too often something that we have seen personally with other people is that because the parent, when the child became an adult, the parent didn't honor the adulthood and they still tried to parent them. And so it broke.
Look, kind of a little hen-pecking thing. They just keep pecking on their kids, pecking on their kids.
And at some point, I mean...
husband or wife, you man or woman, doesn't matter. They can all do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I think it's really important to let the adult child be who they are and try to... If you're going to try and reconnect with them, the important thing is you are not reconnecting with little Billy. You're connecting with Bill, this man. You want to create a friendship. As parents, when your kids are little and they're minors and they're living under your roof, you don't want to be their friend. You have to be their parent, because they don't need a friend, they need a parent. But that changes when they become an adult. They no longer need a parent. They need you to be more of a friend. Now, sometimes they're going to come to you as a parent. And they'll need that from you, and that's okay. But even still,
most of the time it's kind of a friend. It's a friend sort of thing.
And even when they want advice from you as their parent,
don't get preachy.
They don't want to feel obligated to take your advice. They're going to ask for it, but they want to be able to kind of ruminate on it and then reject it if they don't like it, take it if they do. But either way, it shouldn't affect the relationship that you have with that person. So
it's not so much steering anymore.
Right.
He's got a very small rudder on this boat now. Before, it's big old bus driver, we're driving you there. And now you've got a huge boat with a tiny rudder. And it's really kind of hard to navigate that a little bit. But that's okay, because that's the way it should be, because they should be in their own boat and they should have a nice big fat rudder on it and they know exactly where they're going.
I think the most important thing is, no matter who you're reconnecting with, no matter what, do so without any defensiveness.
Definitely. Don't be defensive, and don't put together a presentation. Maybe have an opening line. I was thinking of you, that sort of thing, but don't put together a presentation. I just want to get this all out before we go really super slow, because at the end of the day, people sometimes aren't ready, or they're unwilling to reconnect.
Yeah, and can I share something that Mark says quite a bit? Is he said it's just people being people.
Yeah.
We're all messy. We're all messy. We all get it wrong sometimes. And we all come from a place of self-centeredness or, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just people being people.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't go, hopefully it goes great. And then I would encourage you to take it, like I shared about my friend, take it with small steps to get back to healing that brings it back into meaningful relationship. But if it doesn't go how you expected, I think the most important thing is honor yourself, honor the courage inside that it took for you to even reach out in the first place.
You tried.
Yeah.
You tried. And sometimes trying is enough. Now you're going to start beating yourself up. I tried and it didn't work. Wow, I really messed this thing up. No, I think you got to have forgiveness for yourself. And I think you have to give yourself a break every now and then. I don't think, I'm one of those people that I don't like giving myself breaks. I need to give myself a break now and then. Just, Mark, you don't have to be 100%. You don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what we do sometimes. We have crazy expectations for ourselves, I think, sometimes, especially when it comes to this sort of thing, because we're like, how did I screw that up? And you can go through this over and over and over, and chances are it was screwed up kind of bit by bit versus one big explosion. It may have been a big explosion,
Sure.
but for a lot of times, it's a bit by bit thing.
I think, remember too, that having forgiveness for that person brings healing to you. So even if whether or not that relationship can be reconnected, rekindled, or any of that, maybe find a way to forgive that person and release that person of expectations. And I think that, you may be sitting there thinking, oh, well, that lets that person off the hook. No, it doesn't. It lets you off the hook. It lets you off the hook from all those negative feelings that you're giving control of yourself over to that person's behavior. So give them forgiveness. Say they're just people being people. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe they're not ready to receive your reconnection. Maybe they never will be. They're just people being people. Time to...
Yeah, I think I would approach it, if I had to make this phone call or whatever it is, I would zero expectations. And the reason is because I hate getting hurt. And you maybe hate getting hurt. I hate getting hurt. This isn't going to work. I would probably go, this isn't going to work, but I'm going to go for it because I got, this little nagging thing that keeps hammering away at me, and I can't go. I got to do something with it, but it's not going to work. I'm going to give it my best shot. I don't know. Maybe that's wimpy, but I feel like that's maybe what I would do. I'd kind of go the wimpy route with my own psychology and say, it's not going to work. And this, I don't want to get hurt, but I'm going to try this and we'll see what happens. I'd probably go wimpy route. Yeah, I'd probably go wimpy. Because it's just hard stuff.
It's hard stuff, and that's okay. I mean, that's okay to take that step. Again, though, I think going wimpy with having no expectations is better than going wimpy with like, well, I'm just not even going to try. But I think
that's
honestly...
That's cowardly, though. I think that's maybe a little cowardly.
Cowardly versus wimpy.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up by saying this.
Okay.
It's not too late. It's not too late to pick up the phone, shoot a text, an email, send a letter, make that phone call, open the door.
There's so many ways to communicate in 2025.
Yeah.
Have you seen?
Just send them a friend request on Facebook. That could be a way to start.
There's just a lot of ways to connect. And so,
Now,
use one of them.
I do want to say this. Healing doesn't always happen overnight, but it does begin today. And I do want to circle back to the fact that not all relationships need to be healed. Sometimes you just need to heal in your own mind from whatever that was.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean reaching out to that person. And I would specifically say, I'm just thinking of like if you had a past like romantic relationship and now you're married, like I'm not going to take this advice and reach out to some ex-boyfriend.
No.
Because why? That would hurt this relationship. No. And so that's not the point. The point is these are people who should still be in your life. Ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends, ex-spouses should not.
That's going to strain your marriage.
Yeah, that's,
I'll tell you that
that's
right
not good. So I just wanted to I just had that prompting to clarify that because I certainly don't want anybody thinking that's where we're going. Okay, Here's our challenge to you. Our challenge to you is to please share with us, whether you leave it in the comments on YouTube or you just shoot us a message. You can find how to connect with us if you go to emptynesterlifepodcast.com. You can connect with all of our different social media. You can send us an email, send us a DM on Instagram if you don't want it to be public. But we would love to hear from you.
Great.
If you listened to this episode and said, yes, there's somebody I needed to reconnect with, let us know about it.
That would be amazing if someone got touched and by listening to this and maybe it rekindled a relationship. That means that there's fruit bearing here at the Empty Nester Life podcast, and that would be fantastic.
That would be. Another thing I do want to challenge you to do, let's say you're not really ready to reach out to that person that you've been thinking about, but I want to challenge you to write a letter to that person. Maybe you send it, but maybe you don't. Maybe you're just getting this out. Type out, we've all been there where we type out that email, but then we delete it all and don't send it.
Yeah.
Do that. I wouldn't even do it as an email, though, because then if you accidentally send it.
Yeah, okay.
But just write out a letter to that person. Maybe you need to just put it in your file box. Maybe you write it up and then you tear it up and send it, throw it in the garbage. Maybe you do actually send it. But I think that's a good way for you to heal if you're not quite ready to reach out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do a letter, tear it all up, put it in the envelope, and send it that way. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's a joke.
It's like a puzzle and an apology all in
Which
one.
you would actually like. You would love the whole puzzle
would be.
part.
I'd be okay with it.
What is this? We are so excited that you tune in. If you got to this point in the podcast, we appreciate you very, very much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Make sure you visit us online. Make sure you watch our YouTube channel. If you do that, you watch us on YouTube, would you please hit the like button and subscribe button and alert button and all that kind of stuff and watch the whole thing to the end. That always helps our analytics.
Yeah, but if they're listening to this, they already did.
Oh.
So thank you.
Thank you. Genius.
Hey, until next week, Mark and Jackie Tate from the Empty Nester Life podcast. See you later. Sneak in here so I don't
testing.
mess
1,
up
2, test. There it is.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Test. Yep.
Test.
You got it. It's in there.
Test. That's just fun.
Do you want me to start it?
Yeah.
I'll start it.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Take 2. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to.
Okay, how about I take this part?
Yeah, I better do it. 3, 2, 1.